Sometimes you find yourself in a situation where clamping almost seems impossible. Now, this could be a tight spot where your clamps really can't reach, or it could just be delicate pieces that seem like they won't support the force of a normal clamping situation. That might be where a rub joint could really help you out. A rub joint is simply a joint that tacks together and forms a bond by rubbing the mating materials together with a little bit of glue in between them. But before you go off and sell all your clamps, there are a couple of things that can make or break a solid rub joint. First off, straight, smooth, jointed edges work best. You know when you have a perfectly flat piece of material and when it mates up to another perfectly flat piece of material, they feel like they're suction cupped together? Well, that's exactly what we're going for here. For a small panel, I like to take my two pieces, book fold them in a vise, and then run a hand plane across the edges until both sides have consistent full-length shavings. This is the best way to get a perfect glue line even with clamps, but it's key to a good rub joint. Second, don't use too much glue. I like to run a bead of glue on one side and then smooth it out to get a nice, thin, even layer. Then I'll put the mating piece on and move it back and forth a little bit, hence the name rub joint, while adding some downward pressure. Give it a couple of minutes to let the glue tack up and then move the glue up to a place where it can cure. Now I'm using Titebond 2, which is a PVA glue. It's always worked good for me for a rub joint, but I have read on the interwebs that hot hide glue works really well for this too. I haven't personally tried liquid hide glue, but I have read that it doesn't work quite as well, so use this glue at your own risk. Also, it's helpful to do this on a level surface so that the top piece doesn't slide to one side or another. But if you're having trouble with pieces sliding around, put a couple inexpensive spring clamps on the seams to help keep the pieces in line. And while technically not a rub joint, a similar method could be used with clamps. Again, use a little less glue. Rub the joints together to create that tackiness, let them sit for a couple of minutes and get a little more tacky, maybe while putting on cawls or clamps on the seams, and then clamp the pieces together. That little bit of time that you spend letting the glue tack up will keep the pieces from slipping all over the place when you apply the clamping pressure.